It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Going to start off with my day. Had a good day. Had a pretty good day. A lot of good things happened. Finally decided on the vehicle to purchase. Went with the iconic Jeep Willys Unlimited. It was kind of a frustrating day a little bit. And yes, frustrating is now a word. A little flustered, a little frustrated. Come together. A little bait and switch tries, but that's when you're dealing with car dealers. You get that stuff kind of every once in a while, but found one that I like. Because look, I've always wanted a milk crate on wheels, and given the realities that are going on in the world of manufacturing today, it was by far the best choice, and I'm thrilled with it. An American-made product, union-made product, because that's where my mind is. Look, as a working person, I want to promote and support my neighbors, my friends, my community. That seems to be in this weird moment. And this is one of these, there are some who, because of whatever political bent that they have, somehow this is bad. Oh, when Donald Trump said country first, I'm going, no, I'm buying products. I'm using my dollars to buy products that I think are going to keep people employed. Because that's how my mind works. I'm going to buy, first and foremost, if there's something on the shelf, I flip it over, check the label. Where was it made? Was it made in the U.S.? Leg up. Was it made by union workers? Double great. That's probably every time what I'm going to buy. Made in America? Yeah, I'm going to buy that. Made in a foreign country by union labor? Probably going to buy that. And this is one of those ones where I struggle a bit. Because to be honest, there are a lot of American companies that don't treat people all that well. And a lot of foreign companies that are owned by foreign people who their employees get treated really well. So I struggle with that a little bit as a union guy because I think every worker should have a voice on the job. I think you should have some say in what happens to you where you spend a good portion of your life. And I think you should be able to make a good, reasonable wage. Doesn't seem all that hard to me. This seems now to be, in this moment, we're polarized. We were in our camps. We've got our flags. And we have decided that now somehow this is polarizing, that this is wrong. And it's kind of bizarre that we're in this spot. Now, like I said, I'm looking for union-made, American-made first and foremost. Bang. And then I'm looking for American-made. For instance, I'll give you a perfect for instance. My wife has convinced me with some shoe busting that I need floor mats. I need better floor mats than those little carpet ones they give you. I actually need to cover everything because look, I'm really hard on stuff. I use stuff, and look, I do a lot of really physical stuff. I'm dirty a lot. I'm greasy a lot of times. I do hard physical work. And I'm rough on things. It just is. And look, I'm a big guy, so I'm rough on things anyway. But she finally convinced me, no, you've spent a lot on this, and you need to keep it like I would, like someone just bought it, and you could eat off of it. So I decided on American-made floor mats. They're not union-made. I wish they were. I wish there were union workers who made them. If I could find them in this country, I would buy them. And if someone knows, please let me know, because I can't find ones that are made in the U.S. by union workers, because I believe in the power of we, the working people, to use our dollars, our spending, to promote good jobs. What's wrong with that? I know, but the former guy. For me, whose jobs are we going to save today with our purchase tomorrow? How many people, are going to keep their job because people think like I do. Hey, I want to support my neighbors. I want to make sure that the job that I save, could even be my own. And we talked about it yesterday, how Henry Ford, wanted his employees to be able to buy the product that they were making. doubled their wages. Now, sped up the line and did a lot of horrible stuff. But still, hey, wanted to make sure that they could buy the product. Now, this isn't because he was good. He was a good-hearted guy. It's not because, oh, he cared about those poor people. It's because he's a capitalist. He goes, we need people buying stuff. And, I look at the fact, and I went through this a little bit yesterday, of, where some of these cars are being made by people working in poverty conditions, low wages, desperate conditions, no say on the job whatsoever, exploitable, disposable. And you go, that's not right. And especially when you look at the fact that the cars aren't that much cheaper when they're made in those areas. So for me, I want to make sure that there's a fair distribution of the wealth that's created by those cars that goes to the workers. And as I said, I had a bunch of Trump people, chiming in. Well, when Trump did this, what? I was behind him 100% when he said, hey, we're going to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. I was 100% behind him when he said, hey, we're going to recreate the golden age of manufacturing. I was behind him 100% when he said, hey, we're going to use tariffs on China. Now, the problem was, and I got to be honest, this is one of those things where his rhetoric was there. So Trump supporters, this is one of those moments you go, this is where we can agree on things. This is where we can reach across the aisle a little bit because we agree. That's right, we agree. Now, where we don't agree is you say he went and he did something. I say he had a lot of rhetoric, but to be honest, his actions were terrible. They weren't thought out. There was no real plan or agenda. It was whatever he felt like at that 3:00 tweet. We need an actual plan. And a big part of that plan is back to us. I blame us. I blame we the people for most things that go wrong because we're so easily divided and torn apart. When we can't agree that we're going to buy a product that's made in the U.S. because it's going to help our neighbors, it's going to help our communities, it's going to help our country because we're going to be able to keep tax base here, we're going to keep jobs here. When we can't agree on that, there's a problem. And this is where I'm hopeful in this moment that we wake up and look. I had a really good moment today. We were all over the place looking for the thing that we wanted to buy, which is getting much more difficult because of the shortages and the supply chains that are spread out all over the globe. Look, as much as I love the Jeep, only 60% of its components are made in the U.S. The rest of it's made in Mexico or Japan or somewhere else. Our supply chains are way too far, way too thin, and way too hard to get back here to keep people working. And look, had a couple people reach out and say, oh, look, we work in these plants. We don't have the parts because we've allowed the supply chain to be all over the world. And yeah, I do think we need to have a very strong supply chain. And if you call me nationalistic or jingoistic, because I think we should be able to produce things, I'll take that from you because I think it's important, extremely important, not just for consumers, but for national security. The fact that we can't seem to put things together right now, it's kind of scary. And talking with the guy who owned the dealership where we bought the car, and I got to tell you, great guy, never thought in a million years. This is one of those moments where I try not to judge people before I talk to them. I really try not to. But this gentleman, he got me. He got me today. I was expecting, off onto the fringe because we were up in really rural country. And I was expecting, this gentleman to be, big Trump supporter and, and maybe even get into some kind of argue scenario. And I wanted none of it. I wanted to buy my car. I wanted to go on. And, at one point we started talking, and I forget what it was, but the conversation then turned into people wearing masks and how ridiculous it is that people aren't protecting themselves. And I was like, oh, my kindred soul, my brother. And it was this weird thing where I know in rural communities there are sane, rational people. I know in rural communities, it's not all rabid Trump supporters, even though that's who you run into most often because they're the loudest. And, in talking with this guy, he's like, I had to stop going to church. I had to stop going here and there because nobody's protecting themselves. And to listen to him talk about living in a rural community, being a business owner and a pillar of the community, you go, there's got to be a way to reach folks. And I'll tell you, there's part of me that goes, maybe it doesn't happen. Because some of the stories he was telling, someone that he knew, well, died from COVID. And nobody around him, his own brother didn't get vaccinated. They held a funeral in the front yard where nobody showed up with masks. And I go, how do you go to a funeral during a pandemic with someone who died from whatever the pandemic was? Oh, I don't know, COVID. And not try and protect yourself from what put him in the box. It's really bizarre. And this is one of these moments where I want to find common ground in these communities. I want to be able to understand the rationale. Because, it came up with the whole, the drug cocktails and the Joe Rogan thing. We're going to throw the kitchen sink at it. Well, when the simple reality was you could have just gotten the vaccine and it would have been, you wouldn't have needed a kitchen sink. I mean, it's really kind of twisted. But I'll tell you, it left me leaving, today going, there are people who are in those communities who are trying. And the hope is, and this guy was really positive, and I loved that about it. He's going, look, things seem bad, but we'll get by it. Things seem like they're too far gone. We'll pull it back. The reality that he believes the people around him are good people, and I do too. I think they're on this weird kind of whatever drug that's out there, or maybe it is the horse wormer drug. I don't know. Or it's, just tons of misinformation. But I'm looking for this moment where how do we pull a country back together? How do we pull people back together to where we come to at least, you're never going to all be on the same base, but at least in the same stadium, at least watching something of the same game, and not be in a world of everyone has their own facts, not opinions. They have their own true, heartfelt, sincerely held beliefs that these are absolute God-fearing fact. When the reality is it's something they read on Facebook or saw on YouTube. Now, I'm like this guy. I would love to take some of the passion for his community, some of the positive thinking that tomorrow will be better, that people will eventually come around, that eventually we get our hands around this, and eventually we get past it so that we can get to the other side and we can heal and we can move forward. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I want to be. There are issues I think that can bring us together. And look, I think jobs and trade and all of that are part of it. And I think there's an education process, because even this guy was like, so you're not going to buy this truck because it was made in Mexico? And I go, no. I want those jobs to be here in our country. And the only way we make those companies bring those jobs back is if we don't buy their products. I am a firm believer in domestic production for domestic consumption. You want to make cars in Mexico for the Mexican market? You go right on ahead. You want to make cars in China for the Chinese market? You go right on ahead. But you're not going to make them in China for pennies on the dollar and bring them back here and line the pockets of the billionaire class even more. Sorry, that's not going to happen. And this is where working people in this country have got to say enough is enough already. We've seen the numbers. We know what's going on. And every day it's getting that much harder. Every day you're looking around going, hey, what do we make? I would love nothing more than to be able to find a car that's made entirely out of U.S. parts. Because you know what? When they were, I don't know. I thought the parts were a lot better. But we're in this world, and I'm hoping the pandemic has awakened some eyes to this idea that we are spread too thin, that we are too dependent on the rest of the world. Now, look, I get people all the time who go, well, no, that's what's going to keep the peace. And the American way has always been, and I love the George Carlin bit, where they go in, they start a war, and whip a little industry on them. Because as Carlin said, those are the two letters in the word industry, U.S. Go in, exploit some workers, make some profit. This way we hang around. We have our military there to protect our interests, and our interest being corporate. Another reason why I'm not in favor of being in countries all around the world. Because I don't know what interests of mine they're protecting. I know they're protecting giant multinational corporations, and we pay for it with trillions and trillions of dollars that could be invested right here in infrastructure, that could be invested right here in healthcare and education and all the things that made this country truly great. So when I do hear the jingoism of Trump going, "Make America great again," or I hear the MAGA hats running around, spouting the talking points, think about where the money went. To people like Trump. And then ask yourself, when these tax cheats, because remember, Trump was saying, hey, of course, I'm smart for not doing it. And the supporters said, yeah, he's smart for not paying his taxes. He's smart for not allowing us to invest in our country. At some point, we got to wake up to this. And this isn't for me a right, left, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative thing. It's an American thing. We all need jobs. We all need to support our kids. We all need good quality health care. We all need good educational institutions so that our kids can have a better future and a better chance. We all need these things. And this is where, in talking with this guy, the same thing. I mean, here was a guy who just wanted the best for his family, working his butt off, trying to live the American dream. I think a lesson for all of us. Now, for me, if we could just throw in a little bit of, hey, I do care where things are made, maybe it'd be a better place. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Quick break. Right back. Stick around.
Nothing more American than workers standing up, and the union gives a voice to win. On the Rick Smith Show.